Good morning. My name is Maritza Soto-Gomez. It's a pleasure to be here, especially with my goal of mindfulness. Mindfulness started in my life years ago, probably around 20 years ago. I've been meditating for years. And when you're meditating and you're like me, that I like to research what I'm really doing, what is the new outside, I encounter mindfulness with John Kabat. So John Kabat is a doctor, as some of you know, out of the University of Massachusetts, who was working with terminal patients. And he started to realize that there were a group A and group B, and both of them will have the same medication. But there was one group that survived versus the other who wasn't. And he started to be intriguing into what happened with this group that worked and what happened with this group that doesn't work. So he started to look more close to those patients, and he realized that those that the medication was working was those who were positive about it, was those who didn't make a bad deal about what happened with you, and those that decide, yes, I have this situation, but I have my reality, and I'm going to keep going. So that intrigued him into getting into meditation. So he went and get training in meditation, and he came out with the name of mindfulness, based stress reduction. So how we get into my school? So 2006, I am working at Two Rivers Magnet School in Craig. I'm doing my job. I love what I'm doing. I've been around for 37 years already, and my background, I am a psychiatric social worker. So a good friend of mine who knows me very well called me and he said, Maritza, I know you're not looking for a job, but there is a place that will fit with what I know you have inside of you to do it. And I am a believer that things coming for a reason. So I said, okay, let's do it. So I prepared for an interview that I wasn't looking for. And he told me the school, his name is Breakthrough Magnet School. The first thing that appealed for me was breakthrough. Because in life, all of us have a lot of breakdown every day. You get out of the house and you're looking at you're drinking your coffee, and suddenly, that coffee splashing you, and you say, oh my God, I have to get there, I don't have time. So their breakdown, when I hear the word breakthrough, I say, okay, just the name is positive, just the name is dynamic, just the name shows transformation. So I went to that interview, 10 people interviewing me, didn't know anyone, and by the way, they told me, that principal, that's the tough cookie in Hartford. I said, okay. So it passed in 5 minutes the interview, which basically is learning a lot of a glance about what the school is and how that school started, and I fell in love. And I said, okay, I found my place. So the rest is history. So 2006, I started to work with Norman Newman Johnson, the founder of Breakthrough Magnet School.
Hi, everybody. You are such a gift in this room. It's so wonderful to be with you today to discuss mindfulness and the work that we do with children. So I started working on Breakthrough in 1988. So by 1990, we had a school within a school called Project Breakthrough at McDonough School in Hartford. And in 98, the state had just passed their charter school legislation, and the resource board I had put together to support Project Breakthrough encouraged me to write a proposal for a charter. So in 1998, we became one of the first 2 charters in Hartford. And then in 2002, we were invited to shift and become the first magnet school in Hartford. And we had started in a church on Broad and Park, Templo Fay Church, and moved. So we were like the peripatetic school. And we moved back to a wing in McDonough, and then we were put in the Mountain Laurel building in the North End when the Montessori school got their new building. So we were there for a number of years, and all this time we're evolving. But the theme of our school that we created was character education, which was really social emotional learning. So I have a background in undergraduate counseling, psychology, education, counseling, went on to a master's in education and so on. And so the counseling and the personal growth piece has always been part of my work. And I knew that that had to be part of the school that we created when we were creating. So there's 3,800 schools in the Magnet Schools of America, but there's only 3 that have character education as their theme. And 2 of them are Breakthrough Magnet Schools. So in 2008, we were asked to open Breakthrough 2, so we now have Breakthrough 1 in a beautiful building in the South End, which opened in 2006 when we had a big growth spurt and we had to hire more staff. And so Maritza and I met after we interviewed lots of people for the social work position, and we knew she's the one. And we've been joined at the hip ever since. So we're both tough cookies, with big hearts, tough with regard to being firm and friendly is how we say it, loving and caring for our staff, for our parents, for our children. I wrote a character curriculum, and we use the acronym BRIC. And 2 years ago, I left Breakthrough and started the Breakthrough Training Institute. And so I'm now working to bring mindfulness, the character curriculum for social emotional learning to schools and for parents and children, and to consult with principals on how to bring this to their schools. So, I'll pass these out, and if you think you can use one to take back to your principal or your school, that you might have someone who's interested. And the acronym BRIC is explained what the social emotional learning pieces are in the brochure, and a little bit about how we teach it. We do it in many, many different ways. So I'm going to let Maritza begin to take a look, because in 2006 we added the mindfulness because we realized that we needed to bring this to children also to help them do the things we were teaching them to do in the social emotional learning piece. So it's one thing to tell children to be able to stop and think before they do something, before they act, but it's another thing to give them the capacity to do that. And that's what mindfulness does. It retrains the brain so that human beings can stop and stretch out the time between the stimulus and their response, okay? The more time slowing that down in between stimulus and response, the better the response will be. Instead of just a reaction, becomes, a more intentional response. So I'm going to let Maritza elaborate.
Yeah. So our first slide is basically the definition that Jon Kabat-Zinn does, and that's what most of the time everybody uses, because it's this simple. It's just paying attention in the moment, experience what happened around you, and be okay with that. So let's just start to do a quick exercise to ground yourself for where you are. So I'm going to ask you, you can close your eyes or lower your gaze. Feel where you're sitting. Try to put your back pretty firm. Feel the back through the chair. You feel your feet within your shoes. You can even wiggle in your fingers. And you know you are being held in by this building, by this chair. And we're going to focus on our breathing. Like I always said, it's that air that brings life to your body. So we're going to breathe in and breathe out. We're breathing in. We're breathing out. You might feel the air coming through your nostril. Maybe you feel your diaphragm going up and down. Perhaps you feel your heart palpitation. Or maybe you put your attention in your shoulder or your hand. I just use a couple of seconds just to be there, just breathing in and out. I know that every single person who is right now here not have thoughts in your mind. We never stop thinking. So I'm going to ask you to try to use your breathing as your anchor. When you're aware, you're thinking. So any thought that you might have right now, something that happened this morning, last night, or perhaps something that will happen, just acknowledge and go back to breathing so we can all land present as a whole group right now. So we will count 6 to 1. One by one, you can open your eyes. If you need a couple of seconds to get back from your mindful moment, it's okay. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So when I start to work with my kids, I have a caseload. So we know what is caseload. Kids who need some extra to be able to do their work at school, to be able to be contained in a classroom. So I have 7 that 2006, and they were from depression to really high level of hyperactivity, to learning disability, anxiety, oppositional behavior, and with action that could go from feeling like they don't want to live, to feeling that I need to run, to feeling nobody understands me. And what all of them have in common is that their brain was just moving like fast and fast and fast. And they have this story that I am not going to change. This is the way I am. Everybody told me that. The teacher told me, go in that corner, there's nothing else. My mom said, oh, forget it. You remind me my brother, my sister, or whoever. So I spoke with Norma, and Norma also as a meditator, we decided, let's go with it. So I called the parents, we met with the parents. I explained what was the mindfulness. I keep it very secular because this is the most important thing when you decide to go into mindfulness in a school. You need to keep secular. There is a lot of misunderstanding about what mindfulness can be, and they always go into maybe something about the spiritualism or some kind of thing that is going to doctrine my kid. So the parent agree. The good thing is that the connection with Norma, the connection with the character, they trust. So I start to work with those in a one-to-one. And I start to teach them the breathing, what I said to you. It's grounding you. It's feeling good about yourself, no matter what happening around, and be able to learn and work with one thing at a time. So after 2 months of intensive, seeing them basically every day, teachers start to come to me. What are you doing? It's a miracle. I have never seen him sitting more than 5 minutes without jumping all over the place. And that kid, something happened in his brain. It's almost like now he get knowledge that before wasn't stick to that. So we said, okay, we're working, it's working. The other thing that it came at the same time, parents. Parents will come home and said, he come home, and if I said something that he don't like it, he might will be upset, but at one point he said, okay, I need to breathe. I need my mindful moment. And they will find a place in the house. So what happened is that it started to become contagious because the parents start to reflect in their kid. Okay, if he's able to control the anger by breathing, there is something there. So from there, the teacher continued to give me a good feedback, and the other kids come to me. Oh my God, Miss Soto-Gomez, you know, this kid, he was my friend, but I didn't even want to be with him because every time that I'm with him, we were in trouble, and now it's changed. So from there, I started to put the 7 kids in a group. So it was a training as a group. It was all of them start to benefit from each other. They become a network. They become empowered by that. And as Norma said, if you have your own kids or you are working in a place with kids and you try to do your job and that kid is sitting, cannot sitting, tell that kid to sit and expecting that the kid is going to be sitting, we are just for a joke because the kid is not going to be able to sit. He doesn't know how to control themselves by himself. You gave that power as a human person where he felt, wow, I can control myself. I can do this. So start to feel good. The self-esteem is going up. Go in a classroom, doesn't need to pull anything to get any attention. It's wonderful. So from there, from that small group, I ended up doing mindfulness the whole school. So at this point, I'm running 18 groups. So I'm teaching my 3 years old all the way to 8th grade. Like you just said, sitting in a room with all those 3 and 4 years in a position of meditation and breathing and tell each other, you need a mindful moment. Let's go and breathe. It's just amazing. So let's see if this works. It's not changed from here. Let's see if we can. Yeah. Yeah. If not, there is a breakdown always.
Probably went to sleep.
So basically, my day starts with 8:30 in the morning. I have my middle school who's choosing voluntarily to come to me. So it's 2 groups of mindfulness that last 45 minutes. So it's not 45 minutes sitting and breathing. We start with the sitting and the breathing and then going to know who you are. Going to be able to discover how you work, how your action affecting others, yourself, and how they're affecting everybody else. From there, at around 11, I am in the 3-4 kids. So they are just coming from recess, ready to eat. So you imagine how 3 and 4 years old are. And as soon, okay, yes, leave it there. Yeah. It's okay. Yeah. So the 2 wings of the mindfulness is the attention and self-regulation. So the attention, concentration, related to that. Well, how you work when you are in a room and talking and people are giving a lesson and maybe you don't feel like to listen or it's really hard for you to understand. And the self-regulation. How you control your impulse control, how you are aware of what happened with you, and you are going to be able to handle that. Yeah. So this is a cycle. Mindfulness in the middle. So we calming our body. When you calm your body, you decrease your stress. You reduce anxiety. You are able to integrate the emotion. You relieve chronic pain. So integrate emotion means I am in math class. I don't understand what the teacher is doing. I start to feel like dumb because I see the others and they do the work and I can do it. So I take a second in that classroom to just breathe, center myself, and say, I get it. I need more help. It's not that I cannot do it. I need more help. I might doesn't know that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to ask. Kids are afraid of us. Us, we are afraid of us and tell somebody that we don't know what you're talking about because we don't want to look bad. It's how I look. I don't want to be embarrassed. I don't want people thinking. So we told the kids, smart people, ask. Smart people know when they don't know. When you don't know that you don't know, then ask. Maybe the next person says, I don't know either. Okay, now we are two. Let's see who's going to be. So what happens is that you realize that you are not alone with that. And that's so important for you. We are not alone. There's always somebody who might will have a situation that at this point you learn, and next time the person will come to ask you and you say, now I know. I can tell you what to do, or I can share with you what happened. Okay. Yeah. So mindfulness provides the missing part. So going back to my 7 kids, years came for them to keep moving in grades. So by that time, all of them were in the same grade. That was, I will say, the beauty of that. So by the time they are in 7th grade, we go into PPTs, 5 or 4, and by 7th grade, 6 out of the 7, they were already out of services. They were able, they were able to self-regulate themselves. They were able to think, and the big piece that happened was their brain. So mindfulness is about also learning about your brain. So if you have your hand and you put this finger here, this is the 3 most important part of the brain that I teach the kids. This is the amygdala. It's embedded in your brain. It's a very tiny part of your brain. Then you have the parafrontal cortex, what is your thinking, your organization, your planning. So this tiny amygdala controls your emotion. That's where your anger, your sadness, you don't believe about, your self-esteem is there. So what mindfulness does for that is that as soon as you start to be self-regulated, you are more conscious about where you are more in control. So that amygdala starts to shrink and the parafrontal cortex start to open it. So that's how the kids that I have that have learning disability, suddenly they start to learn. I've been following all of them, and right now they are ready to graduate from high school and going to college. And that one that is still was servicing is no longer services. If that happened with everybody, not necessary, but the important thing is know who you are, what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, without making any story about that. So I can keep talking and talking. I have a lot of experience. But I know that you probably will have some questions later on. I did share with Judy that I make copy of the power presentation. So if somebody like it, I will be more than happy to give it to you. I have my business card. If anyone would like to come and visit, I have many people who come in and visit. I do groups every single day, every single different grades. So let's see, you would like to come and see, I want to see the kindergarten, then you call me or you email me, and then we will set up so you can be with me there. Anything else, Norma, before we close?
No. We're also starting it at Breakthrough 2 now, and I'm helping the new principal there bring that to the school. So we're doing it in the middle school there, and 17 of the teachers are being trained by Mindful Schools in starting their own mindfulness practice. As soon as a teacher has her own practice, I will go in the classroom and do the mindfulness training from the Mindful Schools curriculum. And, but I won't do it if the teacher doesn't have a practice.
Yeah. In my school, I train in my kids every Tuesday from 7:30 to 8. teachers come to me to the mindfulness room, and we just continue to have that practice. So it's a place for them to feel safe, in experience themselves. And as Norma very well said, it's volunteer. You cannot impose nothing to any people. You have to find within yourself.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. I'm Monique Butler, and I'm the 5th grade teacher at O'Brien Elementary School. I've been teaching for 12 years and education for 13. And just like Jocelyn said, it all started basically with some things that I learned about myself. And in order to be mindful, we always think about metacognition and just thinking about thinking. And sometimes we don't have that opportunity to just think about thinking because our minds is always on a run. We're always focusing on certain things that we're going through on a daily basis. Like, I have a son, so it's like, oh my goodness, he has to go to karate. He has to do this. I have to do that. And you forget about yourself. And that's the reason why I started the Commit to Stay Fit program at O'Brien Elementary. And when I thought about mindfulness, I thought about painting and painting a picture, but not only painting a picture, but creating a mural. Because at O'Brien, one thing about it is we're teachers. We're stressed out sometimes. We're focusing on curriculum. We're thinking about lesson plans. We're focusing on, what are we going to do tomorrow rather than focusing on ourselves. And sometimes we get lost in translation because of all of the many things that we have to do throughout the course of the day. So my story started when I was basically 3 years old. I was adopted. And I lived in a foster care, and then I was adopted by my mother. And my adopted mother, who recently passed away in November. And one thing about my mother, she always taught us that we can do anything that we put our mind to, but you have to sit down and think. Have that moment of silence. You don't have to always be involved in every single thing. Plant a seed and let that seed grow. So at 17, my mother said, and she was extremely strict. So, when I say extremely strict, it was to the point of, I was like, she said, you going to college? I said, when? Like right now? So, when I decided to go to college at 17, I went by myself. I knew that my mother would not travel on the plane to come visit me in Florida. So I said, I'm going the furthest way possible. And Florida, it was Miami. So I was just like, you know what, Miami, Florida, it's time to have fun. No mother, no parents, nobody to bother me. But in that moment, I also had to realize, once again, to sit back and understand the moment. I was there for a reason. My purpose was to go to school, to get a degree, and to figure out what I wanted to be in life. And at that moment, I wanted to be a journalist. And like most kids, you want to be every single thing possible in this world. And that's why I Commit to Stay Fit with the Children and Families program that I have at O'Brien. We want them to be exposed. We want families to be exposed to the non-traditional aspects of careers. And like I said, 17, I'm in Florida, and I'm like, I'm going to be a journalist. That's what I'm going to do. And I get there, and they said, well, we don't have a journalism program. I'm like, what? I should have did more research. I just heard Miami. And I'm like, all right, you don't have a journalism program. What do you have? So 2 years later, I'm like looking at my transcript, and I'm like, what? Education? I never said I wanted to be a teacher, and then it was like, you're in an education program, you might as well stick to it because at our college, your credits are not going to transfer. I was like, oh my goodness. So I'm like, you know what? Everything happens for a reason, like you were saying. And if this is my calling, who am I to say that I should just turn away from it? Because sometimes we block our own blessings by running away from certain things that are presented. We see them, but we don't want to see them. So I'm like, okay, I'll be a teacher, whatever. And then my mother said, you sure you want to be a teacher? And I was like, what do you mean? She was like, because you have an attitude problem. And I was like, what? She's like, you can't deal with children with that type of attitude. When they see you, you need to be a representation of me, and you need to be a representation, first of all, of who you are. And if you're going to walk around with an attitude, then they're not going to feel welcome. They're not going to want to be in your classroom. And I was like, all right, I'll change it, So certain things we see in ourselves, it's because we're so used to it. We become accustomed. But then when somebody, bring it to our attention, we're just like, oh my goodness, they're criticizing. And then when I thought about mindfulness, like I said before, it's painting a picture, because my picture was painted before I even walked into a story. My picture was painted at a young age, and I didn't even know that that was my calling or that was going to be my picture. But I'm painting a mural now, and that's when, at a school, I started Commit to Stay Fit for the teachers. And at that moment, it was called Biggest Loser. And then I thought about it a couple of years ago. I was like, loser, is that something that we want to really call ourselves? Because once again, we have to think about our mindset. And if your mindset is always thinking about challenging and losing weight just because I want to win a challenge, you're not thinking about the overall aspect of healthiness, mindfulness. Sometimes our subconscious is telling us, well, society says I have to look like this. And your mind, if society tells me I have to look a certain way, then you go out and feel like you need to be that way. And as teachers, I wanted them to know that it's not always about just exercising, because the one thing you say about losing weight, oh, I gotta go exercise. I need to be on the treadmill for 45 minutes. I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. I'm doing squats, people walking down the hallway, squats and lunges, and I'm like, okay, I understand, and it's okay, but I want you to also focus on nutrition, because nutrition is the major important thing in our lives. This is how we basically focus on, our eating, our healthiness, and sometimes when we think about nutrition, it's think about not eating. And I'm like, well, when you don't eat, how much energy are you going to have to work with students and their families and different parents? And how are you going to work with your colleagues if you're not eating enough? You need the nutrition. So with that, 6 years ago, it was Biggest Loser, and then I thought about changing the name 2 years ago to Commit to Stay Fit. And when I say commitment, I mean that we don't sit here and say we're going to start today and then it ends today, because the program is over. It started as a 5-week program for teachers 6 years ago. Now it's a 10-week program. And throughout that process, we focus on nutrition, and we focus on mindfulness and being able to cope and understand that the way we are as a community is based off of, us being a teacher. And not just us saying, oh, I'm a teacher and I have authority, you go sit down. It's like your job is to be healthy as well. Because what happens when you're no longer here, they have to find another teacher. And if we all come in and we all have that mindset of this just a job, or as we're in a stressful environment, then that's what it's going to be. You have to think positive. And it's not going to always be the greatest journey during, committing to anything. Sometimes, not even sometimes, most of the time it's a challenge. No matter what it is in life, you commit and you sit here and you tell yourself that this is something that I want to do because it's something that's going to make me better. And when you're better, you can do better for other people. So now, 2 years ago, we had Commissioner Network come in, and that's how we were partners with Compact, Jocelyn and Michelle over here. And I was just like, what can we do with Compact? And it was like, well, you know what? We have to do family engagement. And I'm like, perfect. Because with the teachers, the students start seeing us eating well. They started seeing us like in the morning playing different songs for them to come in and sit down. It's like musical instruments. And it's like, what are you guys doing? And like, if I eat like a bag of chips or something, they're like, oh my goodness, she's eating chips. And I'm like, it's okay. Like, one thing about it is it's called moderation, and everything we do in life, it has to have moderation. So some of the students were like, well, my mom, would be interested in learning some things about like nutrition, because they see that they were seeing us eating well. So I said, you know what? How about I start this program for the children and families? And once again, with painting a picture, I was thinking about the mural because I wanted something like grand and big. And I'm like, we need everybody in East Hartford, blah, blah, blah. And it was like, no, you have to start small. So starting with O'Brien was the first step. And, with our 3-week program, we focus on nutrition. And with nutrition, we started off with, stages. Because a lot of people do not understand certain things because they're not taught. And adaptive environments is whatever you are taught, that's what you're going to utilize no matter where you are. But if you are exposed to certain criteria, to certain aspects, and certain programs, then you're going to use it because you know it exists. So the first week we have SNAP, and SNAP is one of the programs for like food stamps. For a lot of our parents, that's what they have. And when you go to the grocery stores, you will see a lot of people buying things not because they are not trying to feed their families nutritiously, but because they don't understand. So they buy what they think they can get. Because I have 4 children, I'm going to buy all of these things that's going to last us for the next month, for the month, because I'm not getting any more money until next month. But with the SNAP program, we wanted them to expose our families to different ways to use those different benefits. So the first week, they came in and they talked to the families about how to shop the perimeters, how to budget, what to look for when they are grocery shopping. And I also wanted to focus on exercise. So the first week, we also had like Zumba. One of our teachers, one of our tutors at the school, she does Zumba. And I asked her, I was like, this would be great for not only just our students because they do it in PE, but it will be great for our parents as well. And just to be with your parents during this program was very exciting. Because the everyday stresses of the world. You are running in and out, coming home, do your homework, this, that, and the third, and sometimes you don't even see your parents because they're working third shift. But just to have that moment and exercise with their families. We even had like extremely pregnant lady. She was like 9 months, and she was like doing her Zumba, and I was like, I know that's right, keep going, So, but the thing about it is she took the time out and made her son aware that I am here for you, and this is something we can do as a family. Because parents sometimes I'm on a diet, and they're gonna get I'm making a meal for myself, and then they're gonna get a separate meal, and it's just no, that's not how it's supposed to be. Because if you give them that mindset, it's always going to be, I'm on a diet. If you give them that mindset that because I have so many different things going on in my life right now, there's nothing else that exists but I'm in my moment, then that's what they're going to think about. So we also had, the first night we had laughter yoga, and this is where I met Marie, who's going to be coming up at the end. They had this program. It was storytelling at Conduit, which is in East Hartford. And they play gongs and they play vibration bowls, and you're there and you're not just sitting here just telling your story, but you're also just meditating and thinking. You have that opportunity to just sit there and think, and they give you, at that moment they gave us 3 cards, and while they were playing the music, we were writing. And my son came with me, he didn't want to come. He was like, this is gonna be boring. And I'm like, how you know? And he was like, because I know. And I'm like, okay, so it's gonna be boring, so you just sit there, but all I need for you to do is to make sure that you understand that we're here for a reason. And if you're sitting there throughout the 45 minutes with an attitude, but then you're not gonna learn anything. So for the first probably 5 minutes, he had his attitude, but he got over it. And he started to write his story as well. And the story was, when you're writing your story, it's not your story, it's what you see. But then later on, you transfer whatever you see into putting yourself into the story. So I said that would be the greatest thing for our children and families to be exposed to, just the different programs that we have in East Hartford. Because you go to school, go to work, go home, and that's it. And it's no time to actually think. Sometimes as teachers, we feel the same way. We feel like it's structured. I have 78, no, I have about 70 something students this year because I'm in a departmentalized instruction. And sometimes I'm just like, okay, you know what? Let's have a brain break. We have Go Noodle, and that's the program that we use. And brain break, first thing we do when they come into the classroom, I will play either some relaxing music or I'll put on Go Noodle, and we are there meditating. And to them it's like funny because it's we never done this before, but they will be like the next day, can we do Go Noodle? Of course. Or if I'm in the middle of instruction and I feel like everyone is becoming overwhelmed, I'm like, you know what? Let's do Go Noodle. And they're like, yay! And I'm like, yes. Because it takes them out of this place of, okay, I'm stressed out because today I'm taking another assessment. I'm stressed out because I don't really understand this math problem, and I don't, like you said before, I don't want to ask the teacher a question because and they feel like in 5th grade they're so cool. Like if I act, oh my gosh, she's going to be looking at me. No, you can ask those questions. And that's why with the Commit to Stay Fit, I wanted to expose them not only to nutrition and exercise, but also to holistic wellness. So then we had dinner, so laughter yoga. They thought it was extremely funny because it's laughter yoga. And he was like, what is that? But it was something new for them. And during dinner, every night that they come, I went out and got sponsors to sponsor dinner or sponsors to give in different donations for me to get the things that we need, because a lot of the things that we have at O'Brien is more so for curriculum based. So everything that we did, everything I did for the program along with Compact and other sponsors was for the students. So the next week we did couponing because once again, nutrition, we want to work on budgeting, but how do we still save? We want parents to understand that with SNAP program, you can save with couponing. So we had one couponing for the kids and we had couponing for the parents. And then I did hip hop, in which I didn't know what I was doing, but I did some moves and they liked it and I was like, okay. So I did hip hop the next week for the students, and especially when they see their teachers out of that teacher mode. It's like, she's a real person. I'm like, yes, of course. Like, especially when they see me and they see us out and about and it's like we're celebrities and they're like, oh my goodness, there goes my teacher. And I'm like, yes, hi. So I also coordinate the talent show at our school, and I've been doing this for the past 7 years. So normally I have a drill team that I teach. So I figured like hip hop, drill team, I can do this. And I'm practicing in the mirror, and I'm like, you know what, I gotta learn the latest moves, because if I go back to that old school that I did, like the running man, they're not gonna understand, you know? Exactly. So yeah, we was whipping the nays. That's what we doing now. And so that's, you know, just to make sure that kids are aware that there's other avenues out there. So, and your teachers are people. Your administrators are people, but they won't see you as a real person if you always have your guards up, if you're always into teacher mode, if you're always just like, this is the structure, this is how we're going to live, and this is what you every single day. It's just like, take yourself out of that body and put yourself in their shoes, you know. And then, you know, and Marie came in and she played the vibration bowls, and that's what she's going to do. But she gave me the experience, and she just told me to relax. Like she said, you could come in and I'll do a consultation for you. And I was like, okay. And that day I had so many different things to do, and I'm like, oh, she said an hour, but I got to do this in 45 minutes, and I got to go pick up my sons. This is all the things I'm thinking about while I'm laying on the table, and I'm just like, oh my goodness. She said, just relax, just breathe. And after a while, I just had to release those things, because I know he's going to be well taken care of. I know that I can get there in enough time, but sometimes you got to focus about self. And self first is not always selfish. We always think, if I do something for myself, if I take money away from this, and if I do this, then I'm being selfish. But once again, how are you going to give if you're not even giving to yourself? So the last week we had nutrition and blood types, because one of our PE teachers at the school does like a lot of consultations with understanding blood types and nutrition. And then we had fun exercises for the students, along with like dental health. We wanted the parents to know that hygiene, dental, oral health is important as well when it comes to like committing to stay fit, because a lot of our children do not go to the dentist often, which is great for us to have that dental service at school, because a lot of them are not exposed to it. So they need to understand about oral health as well, so that way they understand, why am I brushing my teeth? Like, sometimes kids don't understand certain things until you tell them, you know, why am I doing this project? What is the purpose of this? We all have a purpose in life. Why am I sitting here? Why do I have to do this in the morning? Why do I have to prepare for this? And these are the things that the Commit to Stay Fit was designed for. So we also had like the martial artist that came in from from one of the programs, and he did some mindfulness activities, having the students just to sit there and to think and to breathe and to understand their purpose. And the purpose of doing any type of exercise, anything that you do in life, there's a purpose. You're here for a reason. And we also signed a pledge. And with that pledge, we wanted the parents and the families to know that the commitment starts today. You know, everyone wants January 1st to be the commitment day. Today, this year is 2016, and I'm going to run like 20 miles. And then tomorrow is January 2nd. I'm like, okay, I did like, you know, half a mile. Maybe I'll do it again next year, you know? And it's just like, whenever you have that moment to sit down and just reflect. That's what I had to do, because at one point I was like almost over 200 pounds, and it was because of the stresses, everyday stresses of not really eating. It wasn't the food. It was just like being stressed out and having certain things that I wasn't thinking of. And then to come to Connecticut, you know, to take care of a very sick parent, it's very stressful. You don't have the time to think, because you're running. And my thing was, focus on Monique, because Monique cannot be great for McKenton, which is my son, and she can't do anything great for her students, because that picture that is supposed to be painted is being erased. And who is erasing that picture? Me. But if I want to create a mural, I have to understand that I have to take time out for myself. And our parents have to understand that, and our learning community needs to understand that as well, is to take the time out to understand that wellness is important. And you can run 25 different miles, you can run, you know, do all these exercises, but if you're not nutritionally balanced, you're not, you know, your mindset is not balanced, then how well are you going to be for society? And that's basically it. Classroom. I had my students watch The Secret Laws of Attraction, And we did like different segments, and it's just something that I thought of really quickly for them to do. And there's the secret laws of attraction. We talk about whatever you give out to the universe is what you receive. So like you said, if you spill the coffee that day and you focus on the coffee all day, guess what? That's negative. You know, but if I spilled the coffee and you know what? All right, I brush it off and I'm gonna have a great day. So we have what we call gratitude jars. And a gratitude jar is not always, I'm thankful that I have a house, I'm thankful that I have food, but you know what? I'm thankful today because I didn't understand that math problem, so I'm gonna write it down. You know, like a kid in our class whose parent was in a car accident. They were thankful for the fact that their parent is still alive. So we also want to be thankful for just the small things as well as the grand things. And we have them do this like either every day, and at the end of the school year, they pull them out. And I brought different ones really because I wanted people to know that a jar, it doesn't necessarily have to be just a jar. You can put it in anything. And when you have that moment where you want to just sit down and reflect and relax, just open up the jar and read some of those moments that's going to make you smile. So, all right. Thank you. Okay, so for the children and families, it's in April because it's Every Kid Healthy Week starts at I believe the third week of April.
So you do it for a week with
So-
different activities every day?
So we do it once a week for 3 weeks. This year we're doing it for 6 weeks. So it will start April 21st and the program will end on May 26th. And it's once a week with different partnerships. You're welcome. The tongue. With me, just looking at the different things that I've gone through as far as like challenges is what makes those mistakes worthwhile and very valuable. Because at one moment I was like extremely depressed, just having a 2-year-old and coming back from Florida where I painted that picture. I thought life was going to be grand. And then you have to come back and you face these different challenges and you say to yourself, am I going to be strong enough to get through it? And that's why we have like the Commit to Stay Fit program at our school, because we want parents and students and teachers to understand that although there are many different things that's going on in your life outside of school, here's a healthy environment, here's a fun, loving environment, and we're here for you so that way you could take any of these coping strategies and certain things that we're learning in school and take them home. And I wish that someone would have taught me that, how to cope with anger, how to go about and understand what depression looks like, and how to just talk about it. Because sometimes as people, we don't want to talk to people about our problems. We just want to bottle it up and go to sleep every morning, wake up and just say, okay, let me go back to sleep. And that was just pretty much me for, an entire summer last year. And I've been doing this for the past, as far as a Commit to Stay Fit for 7 years. So it's not always going to be, I'm going to start off here and I'm just going to reach that mountaintop and I'm going to stay there. Sometimes we do fall. But when you fall and you hit the bottom, you need to know how to get back up. Thank you.
A little background. I'm a holistic geriatric rehab nurse, and I've been doing touch healing for years. I got into sound healing in 1994, and I took this bowls into the hospital, and then I started teaching at the hospital, at Hartford Hospital, started teaching at Connecticut Valley Hospital, UConn, University of Hartford, teach at Goodwin College. I go all over the place, and thank you to my dear friend. Okay. Monique is great. She's beautiful and she's a very good person. And yes, I do put people on a table. But first I talk. But first I talk to them. I say, so why are you here? So what can I do for you? Where do you feel bad? What's up? And so they tell me and say, okay, where in your body do you feel that? I'm so scared. I feel it right here. Okay, then we'll work on that. I'm just so stressed out. My shoulders are, one day I went to a party and they said, Marie, why are you wearing your shoulders as earrings? Oh. So then after I've talked to people for a while, I say, okay, we're going to start this. We're going to start feeling better by standing up and doing a de-stress exercise. So I want everybody to stand up. Put your things on the chair. Okay. I say, okay, we're going to hold hands. And there are too many people here to hold hands. But what we do is we hold hands. And we hold hands at our minor chakras, you know, the major chakras of the body. And this is something I made up. And I said, okay, the spirit of oneness. We are all one after all. So we just say, okay, dear spirit of oneness of the universe, of all, we thank you for your presence here with us in this room, within our hearts. Thank you. And we ask our spirit guides, whomever they may be, to come, teach us the lessons we need to learn today, and help us to learn them. Thank you for your presence. But most of all, we thank you for everybody here. In your mind, say your name, and Marie. And we ask that we all be healed in the places we know about and in the places we don't know about. And I ask that I may be a worthy conduit of your healing energy, blessing, peace, love, grace, and joy. And so it is. Aho and namaste. Oneness, yes. So when is she going to get to the bulls? So then I do two kinds of both. I'm going to play a little concert. And this little, I call it Concerto for Himalayan Sacred Sound Instruments. And just enjoy. And take in, by the way, what I am doing also is a healing. A healing is called vibrational healing at the cellular level using Tibetan singing bowls. You will feel the very cells of your body, especially concentrate on an area that isn't feeling so good today, wherever it may be. Maybe your thumb, your belly, wherever. Just close your eyes and feel. May you love and be loved. May you live with ease and kindness. May you be peaceful. May you be safe and protected. May you love and be loved. May you live with ease and kindness. May you be peaceful. May you be safe and protected. May you love and be loved. May you live with ease and kindness. May you be peaceful. May you be safe and protected. Namaste. Welcome. Would you like an Om hug?
Yes.
This is an Om hug. Take a deep breath and say Om. Om.
The other thing that you should probably know about Marie is when I started to talk to Marie, we just started to talk. Marie, you remind me so much of my mother. Oh my gosh, I felt this connection to you immediately.
Thank
My
you.
mother was a nurse. Thank you so much.
You're
Thank you
very
so
welcome.
much. So how does everyone feel?